demonology question. Let's get the one from the chat room
first, and then we'll do a couple more.
Yeah.
Yes, he is an atheist, Zulma. He's very much, he's a confirmed atheist. And unfortunately, sadly, the majority of people in this country that are so incredibly educated, for whatever reason, they like their atheism, which is kind of strange because it's, really not a belief in anything. So why would they tell themselves that, they have a belief system which doesn't amount to anything? Yeah. All right, so this is a great question, Michael, and thank you so much for asking this, because I think this really does bring up some good points. I think we need to talk about this. Mike, I definitely want to hear from you on this one, too. His question is it just me? I get around certain people and have a really terrible feeling about someone. Is that possibly because they have a dark presence around them? Or, is that just, just kind of me?
Wow. Dark
presence around somebody.
I guess you got to get a little more details. Like how often does it happen? And has he been right sometimes or often?
He said that it started for him when he started having a deeper prayer life. That's a good. That's a really good point. What do you think about that, Mike?
Oh yeah. Well, I kind of had that discernment kick in too early on before I knew what was going on, because I had some people at church, and they were nice people, didn't know anything about them, but I couldn't stand to be within 5 feet of them. And it was just I couldn't figure out what it was. I can't stand that person.
Wow.
Not knowing them. And it turned out to be later that those people did have some, pacts with demons they had going on, some severe stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I actually ended up working with them, right? Yeah.
Wow.
God, how we can actually pick up on people like that.
Oh, yes.
I mean, and they're so nice to your face. They're going out of their way to be so nice.
Right.
And you're being nice back to them, speaking figuratively to them.
Yeah.
But it's like you can't wait to get away from them because you see that there's nothing but evilness around them.
Right.
They've done something, you don't know what it is, but you want to get away from them.
And you can't tell physically by looking at them. They're like a great person.
Oh,
you're just going, inside. You're just like, whatever this guy is, get away.
Yeah.
I always tell people, go with your gut feeling.
Yep.
Your gut's not going to lie.
Oh, yeah, and your first impression sometimes, if you don't let your senses...
We are all given a gift from God.
That's right.
Yes.
Everyone who is on the face of this earth is psychic, but they don't know it. That is part of our gift, our gut feeling, and you need to go with it.
It's what's left over from Adam. It's what's left over that we got from being kicked out of the garden. We have a survival instinct.
And it goes the opposite way. If you're not spiritual, it'll be useless,
true. You'll be attracted
or it won't be existent. Like Deb, you had this horrible experience. I think that some of these things get honed up because God gives you that so you can recognize a presence when it starts to come back and deal with it.
Yes.
Whereas you might have had nothing, but that's not in your case. You didn't have nothing initially, and then you get it later. Kind of like when they say that when a person goes blind. A person will go blind, and then suddenly they have a real keen sense of hearing. Now, people might give like a physical or psychological part, but it's probably really something that's just something spiritual. One thing overcompensating to make up for the missing element that's not there anymore in the sense system. Sometimes people
they'll have better hearing, they'll have a better smell or a taste. Because even if you're not eating food, you can still taste things on your tongue.
Oh, yes.
I know for my children, like when they spray on their cologne, and we're about to have dinner, it's like I'm telling them, do you have to spray that in here? I could taste it on my tongue, even though they sprayed it in their bedroom.
Yes, what's wrong with those kids?
Isn't that funny? Yeah, our senses are connected in some ways.
Oh, yeah.
We
all have senses. We need to use them better.
I agree, too. And the point I wanted to tell him is that this isn't just him, because that was his question. Is it just him? And does that mean that they have a dark presence around them? It may not so much be that somebody has a dark presence around them. It may be that they don't even know it. Because a lot of the people that we meet that are oppressed don't even realize how they could have possibly invited anything in. So they don't actually know how well that they are dancing with their devils. They think that everything's fine because see, grace works like this, kids. We all get it. We all get the grace from God. But the more we choose sin, the more gray our ability is to see what's out here. We can't see it. So we choose another sin, and pretty soon all sin looks like the truth. What's your problem with it? This is okay. This is okay that I do. This is okay that, I cuss and sleep with my neighbor. What's wrong with that? I mean, it's not like, I'm hurting somebody and breaking up their marriage, because your meter has been covered by the grayness of your sin. So you're not going to really understand why somebody is turning and running from you, because they don't feel comfortable around you. But it's the depth of your sin and the demons that you dance with. You're not even aware of that is going to repel somebody that basically doesn't want to be around you. And consequently, a few times, Ken and I have been at certain meetings. Either we have carried a relic with us, or have been around people that have said, oh yes, I'd like you to meet somebody at an informal gathering, and have not told the people who we are, so they don't even know who we are yet, and we've been in the same room, and they need help, they need healing, they need some prayer, they need some spiritual warfare assistance, and before they even have the opportunity to meet us, they can't stand being in our presence. It works the other way. You can be so loving and so compassionate, and you can want your neighbor's good so much more than your own, that somebody that's demonized is going to run away from you. Don't forget it.
Yep.
You know what
I'd
happens
like
when
to address Mike in the chat room.
Yes, please do.
He mentions that I guess the people that he sees the darkness over, they are old Navy buddies I reconnected with, both not just atheists, but more anti-God people. I get the creeps. And you know what, Michael?
What do you say?
This person here, Farah, is the person you want to talk to, because she's a Navy brat.
Oh my gosh, what I do with those Navy boys, I will never admit.
Yeah,
I already told it in confession.
I suspect PTSD, just like, that, not Alzheimer's, what's the other one, where you drink seawater and dementia. Because you've had experience with dementia, and then spiritual warfare prayers got rid of dementia for 6 weeks, instead of the blessing of the sick, or the, extreme unction, those prayers. So it said it was more of a spiritual ailment. But anyway, something I wanted to throw in there was the opposite side of things. When people are oppressed, and sometimes they don't realize they are, like some of the charismatics get so swelled with pride, they think they see demons and good people. It's because a demon does that to keep them away from good people. We've had people go to a priest that we knew was good, and then they questioned the priest being good because they said they saw a demon on him, and they came up with almost like paranoid schizophrenic type attitudes about how the priest was behaving. And the reality was it was all their perception that was being distorted. They're seeing demons on people when the reality is there was no demons on them at all. Those are people that could have helped you, and so they're hallucinating it in a sense.
You stepped in my pet peeve, Ken. I have so much problems with that with people I work with.
How's
that?
I
just want to take a bat to some of these charismatics. Like, shut up. What I've been doing to them lately is I've been drilling them. What did it look like? How do you know? How did you receive it?
Exactly.
Who told you? How did you test the spirit? And they start backing off. So what you're saying, it came from the soul, not your. No, I saw it. But what you're telling me is it came from your soul, and there's no checks and balances. They get really upset, because we have to now, because we have to undo all this garbage before we can go do stuff like that. It's frustrating. You hear my frustration, right? I'm ready to take a bat.
I'm ducking over here, okay, Mike? I'm ducking. Right. But I totally hear you, and I feel you, okay? This is how I feel you, brother. This is the number one thing when we're trying to help people, and we find out people have been helping people, and they say, well, I feel like this, and I feel like that. When we hear somebody is relying on their feelings, we're like, okay, so obviously you didn't test this spirit.
Right.
You didn't put it through its paces to find out, is it going to go away? Is it the Spirit of God? Is it the Spirit of truth? Is it going to preach the blood of Christ? Or is it just because you just feel that everything it's been telling you is fine? And this is very, very common, especially in the new charism of the which is really frowned upon by our bishop. Thank you, Lord. These charismatic groups, okay, that are laying their hands on, and they're just merciful heavens. What they're doing is they're inviting spirits in. Now, I'm not saying that everybody with a charism is inviting demons, and I'm not saying everybody that's charismatic is demonic. I'm saying that it is the majority of people that are deluded into believing that they have special gifts and charisms. Why would you want a gift of tongues? Why would you want a gift of spirits if that's not your gifting, if that's not what God wants you to do? Why would you ask to step out of the right order or authority of God? Why would you want that? And that's because everybody thinks it's so wonderful. It is not. It is not. It is one of the least gifts to want. It's one of the least useful gifts to want.
Yeah. I call those people to fake it till you make it. They don't have a gift.
There's lots of those out there.
I like that. Make it.
Oh, yeah. Rosalie's got a great point here. You know, God told me to. Oh, my gosh, Rosalie, I got to get this off my chest right now. Jesus, please forgive me. I'm in a group, okay, of like, 40 people, okay? And now here I am. I'm on the finance committee, and I'm leading this, and I'm leading that. And I'm in a group because somebody told me, they says, you need to go and you need to, volunteer to be president. I'm like, why do I want to do this? I got plenty on my plate. Well, because you need to see what's going on. Okay, Rosalie, listen to this. I go in this group, all right? Now, I know where the head is. I know where the contender is. And where do I sit? 2 steps away from the contender. You know why? To the right? That's my position. All right? I want them to know I'm there and I'm watching. Okay, so halfway through the voting process, they're talking about the changes and everything else. This person gets up and says, God told me I'm supposed to be here. And I'm like, oh, merciful heavens, Jesus, can I please go to the bathroom right now?
Right.
Because I'm not going to cause scandal. I'm not going to insult somebody. I'm not going to make them feel bad. The thing of it is I'm secretly praying. I'm saying, oh, Lord, please give her truth. Please give her knowledge. Please don't let her. And she continued. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. I came home and I told Ken, I said, Ken, if I ever say in a public forum around more than one person that's not my priest and not you, that God told me to do it, I want you to take that baseball bat and I want you to hit me upside the back of the head, not once but twice. And if I say anything, hit me again. Because what this does, people, is this totally diminishes your relationship with God. This diminishes your relationship with Christ to nothing, and you're putting it on a billboard like he's some kind of jack-in-the-box cracker you can pull out and display. Excuse me, I went there, Jesus.
That's right.
But if I don't say it, who the hell's gonna? I'm sorry. Yes, Rosalie, it was dang funny, girl. That's why Ken. That's why Ken carries the bat and I carry the gun.
That's right.
I don't trust him with a gun. I'd be scared. I'd be ducking.
You know what, Farah?
I gotta stand by my sword.
Farah, that's why I don't believe in charismatic. I believe in discernment through the power of prayer. Yes.
Precisely.
And if they come to you,
But you
they
don't
give you the
announce
message
it.
only. You're not to go around blabbing it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it may not come all the time either. And just because the first thing that pops in your mind is
You know
always the
why
truth.
Kenneth doesn't come all the time? Because it's not ready. It's not your time. It's not their time.
Sure. Yeah. See, Deb knows this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's hard, folks, okay? I'm not ragging on people that do say this or do admit this. I'm just saying, pray for these people. They need some help.
Yeah.
They need some help.
Yeah.
They don't understand that there's a possibility that who they're hearing from is not their guardian angel. They don't understand that yet. And the best thing that we can do is either pray for them or ask to pray with them. Because I guarantee you, you sit down and pray with somebody like that, they're going to get blocked. They'll hear nothing. They will see nothing. Do you know why? Because you truly want the best for them. You truly want God to touch them and bless them. Go ahead.
Ask the question.
Yeah.
And she asked a question, and I'd like to answer that.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Rosalie said, I always wanted to ask, how did you hear him? What did his voice sound like? Well, for me, when I'm in prayer, I get pictures, I get images, and I get words.
Words,
I don't
voice.
actually hear with my ears.
Yeah.
I see it. So those are, I get images. I just want to let her know how I receive them. Michael, I know you do the same thing, and how do you receive yours?
I get pictures as well. A lot of times I use a sketchbook when I do the ministry outside to show these people, because I don't have to translate anything to them. You'll get it right away. But like you said, too, sometimes when I'm praying, I may not get an answer right away, but over the period of a week, I may get something put on my spirit where there's an answer and I'm comfortable with it. Like I should do this. But it's not like God goes, thou shalt go do this. It's like, I'm getting the feeling I need to go in this direction. That's how it responds. It's or sometimes use your internal voice, or the Holy Spirit can also convict you to do something too.
Sometimes. Yeah. I agree. Internal voice sometimes. But mostly it's pictures, words, symbols. Yes. That's how we hear it. And if it's really strong, it's our internal, like you said.
And it drops in right away. I noticed too. Yeah, it drops in right away. You may be thinking something like, hey, I'm going to paint my car red or something like that. And all of a sudden this thought drops in and interrupts it. You go, well, that was weird. What do I think this for? And all of a sudden you feel it's a very godly thought, or something's coming that's very peaceful. It usually drops in something like that too.
Yeah, you start to ask a question
and I share the same wavelength, and I think, Farah, you go through this too when you're in discernment.
Yeah, and basically,
if it was that easy,
the point I'd like to make to people is that don't think that God is going to sit there like your best friend and go, "Hey, Janet, what the hell are you doing?" He doesn't talk like that, okay? He doesn't. You're basically going to when you're in the deepest form of prayer and you're hoping to hear God's voice, a lot of times you won't. You will sense a presence, a loving presence, and it could be your guardian angel. Because your guardian angel not only stands right next to you to protect you, but he also stands directly in front of God so that he immediately knows how to help you. Okay? That's your guardian angel's job. So your guardian angel will relay things that God thinks are a good idea for you. You may be thinking about getting a new job. And your guardian angel, as you're in prayer, may say, try this business next week. And the thought will just occur to you, and you'll be like, well, where did that thought come from? That was your guardian angel. And that's how God is going to speak to you. God is going to speak to you in the ability that you can receive him. Because there is no way any one of the saints that have heard God's voice were ready to hear it when they were in a place where they questioned what they were thinking. So until we can get to the point beyond our prayer and beyond our thoughts to where we can go into a deeper level of prayer, we're going to be getting the urgings of the Spirit from our guardian angels. So don't beat yourself up. Pray in all things. And if you have a question about a thought you've had and you've written it down in prayer, pray on it some more. Take it to your pastor. Say, okay, what do you think about this? That's the best way to do it, because if you do not have a spiritual director or spiritual authority that you can converse with, you're going to be left wondering.
Yeah, a lot of things, just like people go to Ouija boards and ask, as teenagers, like, will I marry someday? We can't do that in prayer and then expect answers. If we do, we might get answers in the same way you would on a Ouija board. It's like with St. Teresa. St. Teresa still got tested even when she was that, we'll just say deep in her piety. A demon appeared and tried to pretend to be something other than. I think that might have been the case where it said appeared as a Blessed Mother, and she had a different outfit on, didn't have a rosary. Is one of the saints. I hope I didn't get that one wrong. It's been a while. That's the problem with being cradle Catholic and doing this work a long time. The old stories fade from memory unless I've been repeating them a lot.
Isn't that the truth?
And it appeared, and then it showed its colors when she tested the spirit. She realized, I don't have discernment for every spirit, even in this state. And I think that's a part of humility, that we can't always expect an answer to a prayer. Sometimes the answer to the prayer is not getting the answer. You're praying for a particular job. You get no answer whatsoever. That's the job. You're not going to get it. And then you realize that, that you didn't get it. And then a great job comes later on by default. And then you're like, oh, I get it now, God. You and me. We got, you know what I mean? So don't pray to expect some verbal answer. That's just like on that old show Taxi, where Louis was in the hospital bed and he wanted to become he's like, just send a lightning bolt, flash once for yes, twice for no. And he thought, well, yeah. Mm-hmm. I forgot what happened. It was something like that. And then you can't set them up like that. Don't set up God or, or saints or anything in prayer that so that you kind of trick them in discernment, because that becomes necromancy in a certain way, because you're not doing it in all humility. If it's your will that you answer me on this, and I need it, because there's been things I still don't get.
Isn't that the truth?
Like even my mother and father dying 8 months apart. I'm just like, what's the point?
That was really difficult.
And it's like to some degree I understand it sometimes, and other times I don't. I'm just like, why did they die so early? I know they were in their 70s, but and some things like that. It's because it's just like it's not important enough, or it's not good that it's not needed that I know it now. Maybe it has to do with spiritual growth that I must find out on my own. It's like some old kung fu story.
Exactly. It's all in their time, not your time.
The quote.
Like I totally agree with you, Ken.
Yeah.
You heard from them, or you had a vision, or whatever came to you. Mm-hmm. It was in their time, not your time.
Always.
That's how things work.
Some old Chinese philosopher had told the person who developed a style of kung fu called Wing Chun, the one that Bruce Lee and his predecessor was known for. Mm-hmm. He told the person who was coming up with that style, the purpose of a cup is in its emptiness, which means sometimes you don't get an answer because you're supposed to fill it. And I don't know if that makes sense. And you know
what? In that sense right there, Ken, that is the essence of meditative prayer. Mm-hmm. You cannot be filled with God, with the messages from your guardian angel, until you give everything of yourself and empty yourself in Him at the foot of this cross that is waiting for you just to dump everything. Okay? Yep. The more you hold on to the pain, the more you hold on to the anger, the hurt, the more you hold on to all this stuff.
Yeah.
There's no room for God to talk to you through your guardian angel. You have to give it up.
It took what?
Nothing enters a closed fist.
Years?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That's how long it took.
Nothing enters a closed fist, folks. You have to open it.
That's a big one. Keep
Our
providing.
video is interrupted again.
What? Our stream got interrupted?
Our video is interrupted again,
No, it's all right. It's fine. Ignore it. I see the stats. It doesn't say anything.
Oh, cool.
That's just one person.
Refresh, you know why? Because
everybody's got problems on computers or whatever.
My feed kind of got locked up. I'm going to refresh real quick and see if that helps.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't had feeds, so yeah, we'll carry on.
Yeah, I got no problem broadcasting, so everybody is having a problem with being individual.
I haven't seen anybody have a problem. It's just my feed locked up.
Well, yeah, it's delayed. Okay, I guess moving on, and somebody has a question from chat, as it says in the bottom, more questions from the comments and the chat room that's on therealdeals.com, which is also where the link is for the show. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to get out of the way real quick. The disposal of burning items. This has come up before, too. When the exorcist is appointed, he gets a manual that basically they're expected to read. And it's kind of like the employee handbook. It's got the prayers in there, and it has some preliminaries and some details that, are protocols and specifics for the exorcist who's been appointed. Well, we've seen the book before, and I do have in there about burning the unholy items, and Gabriel Amorth mentioned it in his first or second book, An Exorcist Tells the Story. And for laity and everybody else except for appointed priests, and priests who have that book, for example, and, do not burn the items because of the way you release the spirit by burning the item, and then sometimes it goes to the vulnerable person. Yeah. And so you can't burn it and assume everybody is in a state, we'll just say a state of grace even, spiritual protection state, that they're all safe when it's burned. And that's one of the reasons why it's not done. And, don't be present when the priest burns it, for example, because as Gabriel Amorth says, burn it to an ash and then cast the ashes in water. Something like that. But those are accompanied by specific rituals and, binding prayers and so forth that are done by the appointed, by the bishop, exorcist. So that's why we don't bring it up, because people want to know, hey, I got this mirror some ghost hunter witch cast into a demon into trying to supposedly help me with an infestation. And then what are you going to do? It's like, what's the priest going to do with a dresser with a mirror mounted on it?
So true.
So we give them an idea how to dispose of it safely for everybody in the world, where you dispose of it and yourself. Because we don't want to keep dumping stuff in there like it's the Warrens Museum on the priest,
right?
Oh,
even if he's an
scary,
exorcist.
Guys.
When you don't have to, sometimes you're not sure, and it's like you just want to get rid of it. So we say, "Hey, what was that thing you came up with the other day, Farah? You said when you it's like when you have kitchen grease, throw it in there and dump it. Put something disgusting in there so no one uncovers it in the dump."
What I said was,
I can sell this on eBay,
What I said was, okay, if you can't figure out something disgusting that nobody will touch, let's go into your kitchen. What is really, really disgusting and nasty that your husband, nobody wants to touch? How about, let's say some hamburger grease, really gross, you can pour it right over it. How about an old rotten potato? Have you ever smelled one of those nasty things? How about let's go through your... open the door. It's a refrigerator. How about that thing in the very far back on the far bottom that looks like it's growing tall green trees with a white fuzz on the top? Why don't you just rub that all over it? Now, you may need, face protection to breathe, but try it. Nobody else will touch it either.
How about a kitty litter box?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was mine.
That's what Ken said. Kitty litter box.
They said we don't have a cat.
Oh, that's so gross. That's so gross.
It's just like that huge ammonia and whatever. It's like you can't. How about digging up the dog stuff in the backyard and putting it in a bag?
Oh, Ken, that's so gross.
Who would go in that? Who would go, I wonder if there's anything of value in here, because some people probably go to the dump.
Ann says, what are we trying to get rid of? We are trying to get rid of an object that is possibly cursed, or an object that is of questionable provenance, or in other words, we're not sure where it came from, who it came from, or why it came from the person that gave it to us. So we're trying to get rid of something that is a potential occult item or a potential cursed item. Yeah, it's just, we have to be a little careful. No, Anne, you did not miss anything where we're talking about haunted items, cursed items. We don't keep them, folks, and put them in a little glass box and keep them in our house. We don't put them on display for everybody to see them. No, we don't.
Yep.
No, it doesn't go in the museum.
No, no museum. No, this is not something that, people, have we forgot what museums are for? Okay, I did so many posters for natural history museums, with the little pith helmets and everything like that.
Yeah.
Museums are places of what? Wonder and awe. What do we wonder and awe about? God's creations. Wow. Mammoths. Wow. Plants. Wow. Oh my gosh, look at that artwork. How brilliant was that? Are we in awe of demons? Are we in awe of something that's haunted and possessed? Hell no! You want to get the hell away from it. Excuse me for saying the H-E-double-L-L word, but no, please.
So if I hear you clearly, Farah, you're saying I can't sell them for fundraising for ministry. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah,
Michael. Your wife is going to make a pincushion doll out of you if you start that.
Yeah. And to watch
She's
that
going to
too,
start selling the pattern to your ministry.
Right.
Let's all make a pincushion doll of Michael. He's got to stop that.
Now, if you have the idea to send it to, Johnny Zaffis or something like that, or whatever, don't send it UPS or mail, because you're putting the postal worker, if it's really demonically infested, it doesn't matter if it's in a package. He puts it in his truck. It'll be like the end of the Dybbuk's box movie, where it was called The Possessed, the movie. Where the Jewish guy is like transporting it across town and a train hits him or something. Remember that? And it ends up on the street. No, seriously, that stuff happens. You got to get rid of it.
Totally.
Don't pass it to somebody. Don't sell it on eBay. It's like, what are you going to do? Next time you sell someone on eBay, you want to put a cobra in there, because you're handing them a snake. Don't do that. Don't mail it to somebody even in that sense. Don't mail it to your priest if he's out of town.
He doesn't want that showing up on his breakfast bar. Get real.
No kidding.
Go to your local priest and have your priest get rid of it for you.
Well, that's just it. If you have a priest that knows what to do,
that's what they know what to do.
A lot of them don't, sweetie. That's
right.
The problem.
That's right.
And what are they going to do? You're going to have to pass them the information that has specific binding prayers and so forth. And
you're passing the baton.
Well, totally passing a baton.
Most of them won't know what to do, and they'll have their own idea. Like some priests will say, use some sage because they only know from TV. They don't know.
Oh, yes.
And that's the same thing for disposing of this stuff. Sad but true, so we'll see how it comes in the coming years because there's going to be such a fine line between right and wrong ways to do it that the wrong ways are going to get punished bad instead of just lightly because it's like both sides don't have patience anymore with stupidity. You get punished bad on the dark side, and then the light side says, hey, we don't got time for this. You got to get your rear end to church now because, I'm not going to cover you forever.
Right.
And, it's like, it's definitely, I think there's signs at that time. The woe to the earth and the sea, the devil's come down to you, and great wrath nobody has a short time. Mm-hmm. So any questions out of the chat room, go ahead and pop them up, Deb, or, Farah, if you see any in there. But the all suicides go to hell came up lately from a Catholic group. And that's a newer concept that came with denominations that preceded the medieval times, Renaissance, because the Catholic Church and the Orthodox always believed that God only knows the state of the suicidal mind. And Farah, if you can project on this because we had conversations about this because it's ghosts, and that's where we did a lot of research on ghosts because we don't. Sometimes you don't, when you're younger, in your teens and so forth, you didn't know demons affect you like that. You just thought it was bad ghosts.
No, you really didn't. That was the problem of being, in your tweens to 25 to 35. You were still trying to figure out, the difference of, okay, what's going on with this person? Is this kind of a ghost that's not going to go away, or is this demonic? And you're still trying to figure that out. That's the great thing about being old. You can get to the bottom of the pan real quick, and you can see if it's burnt or not. What he's talking about is the discernment of the possibility. A lot of the ground that I learned and I was exposed to, I have to admit, was in lighthouses and older houses where you might have somebody like Michael was saying earlier, there's a crime committed there. Somebody was either abused, hung, murdered, that sort of thing. Then you had the possibility of unrequited love. You had a human that refused to leave for some reason. So you had a combination haunting that might have something ghostly, which, there just is there's just no explanation on earth for, kids. But it won't stop. It doesn't matter how you pray the ghost away, how you pray for it to go on to heaven, how you deliver the place. The scents, like almond, rose, rainwater, linen, fresh laundered linen, bleach. The scents won't stop. The gentle swishing of curtains won't stop. There's nothing to frighten you. But ghosts do exist, whether people want to admit it or not. The problem is when you have a haunt that consists of the demonic, which is scaring the blazes out of you, and a ghost. And, we had a case similar to what I had a long time ago, where I believe that we may have, which I really pray and I hope that I research and find this because it's got to be somewhere, that there's some reason that I am seeing evidence to the fact that there is a human spirit, a godly given spirit that ought to be with Christ right now, purgatory spirit, but for whatever reason is trapped, but it's almost acting as, it's not frightening the people, but there's also a demonic spirit there. It's almost as if it's warning the people that I'm nice, that's evil. But there's no words, there's no writing, there is nothing that the people are aware of. So I'm looking at the evidence, and Ken and I are looking at the evidence, and we're saying, this is kind of strange for a natural human haunt to act like this. So we're going to be investigating that further, and we'll let you guys know how that goes. It's pretty strange. I haven't, like I told Ken, I said I haven't seen that in a while. I haven't seen a ghost act like that. It's not normal. Like I said, you never talk to a ghost any more than you would a demon. But you observe, you make notes, you pray, and you discern, folks.
You know, one of the sad things is some of the suicide, and you'll hear it if you really research the ghost stories and stuff. And I mean, because even Rosemary Ellen Galley's Encyclopedia of Ghosts and Spirits has legends in there that are true purgatory ghost encounters. And someone chronicled, and sometimes they got them from the church. But one of the things is that sometimes the spirit has to relive the day that they committed suicide.
Yes.
And you might catch it. You might see part of that from their perspective, and they don't know you're there just because they don't know you're there and they don't acknowledge your presence. But you see it doesn't mean that it's a residual, like it's somehow recorded into, you know, the metaphysical surroundings, like the limestone in your brick basement walls. That's bull. I just posted our 2015 Fellowship of the Swords TV video talking about residual. Residual is a what's a good word? It's a farce. It came from the science, if you call it science, pseudoscience, parapsychology people who didn't believe that a spirit exists in the afterlife. Instead, they try to explain it off with everything. And I know that everybody just loves using those old parapsychological terms in the old days. And 10 years ago was still part of it. Now it's more spiritualism again, you know, Fox Sisters or whatever, even if it's Christian or whatever. And in a way that's good, in a way it's bad. And but that's where it came from. It came from an atheistic mindset, pseudoscience, residual. But that's what might happen, you know, that you might see on an annual date when they committed suicide, that there you see that echo, you know, what people consider an echo, like an echo, but it's actually the spirit. Pray for it. We have on our website now, but you have to go to Catholic, swordsofstmarkle.org/WP prayers for ghost. It's a 7-day prayer.
And it works.
Yeah.
Especially
it's
if
one way
it's,
to,
you know, a human.
Yeah, and a purgatory one, because if it's one that's working with devils because it's condemned, no, it's not going to work. You got to use the same prayers you use for demons with those. So we're talking about spirits that have, they're in a hanging position, they're on the on-deck circle, but they're in community service. They're in a place of learning. Something's got to get done before they can move on and actually go to heaven. So I just wanted to bring that up. And I wish, you know, it's like we had this veterinarian back when I was younger who took care of our dogs and stuff. And his son was one of those ones who made straight A's in school, and he got a B, and he killed himself.
Oh, gosh.
But, you know, see, the problem is these other denominations that are more new, and I mean the last 500 years, they go by this Bible only, the 66 book version, instead of like the 72 or whatever the Catholic Bible is. And they go by this direct kind of personal interpretation, and they come up with the idea that all suicides go to hell. That's where it comes from. It comes from people reverse engineering the Bible. But it's always been known. There's even gravestones that you'll find in Europe where people died before Jesus was here and after, and the belief that you should pray for the soul, like in Maccabees, pray for the dead, because you can still do a charity to them. So if someone you know committed suicide, your son, someone close to you, you don't give up and pray for them. Ask God to have mercy on them. Offer masses for them if you're Catholic, or and there's rosaries and all that stuff. Don't give up, and don't ever think that it's done. Wait until the end of time when you meet them in heaven. And they thank you for the prayers.
Well, they need the prayers, Ken, get out of purgatory, because we have to go to purgatory to be cleansed in order to get to heaven.
Yeah. So that's a big one. So moving on.
I do encourage everyone to pray for their loved ones who have passed.
Yes.
Because no one's guaranteed a ticket straight to heaven. We have to either go to hell or we go to heaven. We go to purgatory.
Yep.
And that's where we go to be cleansed before we enter the kingdom of heaven.
One way or another. C.S. Lewis, who never was Catholic or Orthodox, he understood that too. I I think that C.S. Lewis is a very wise person. And not just a great author. So one of the questions that we can address really quick, too, when do you need to get an item re-blessed? It was a question last week, I think, Farah.
That's right.
Yeah. And I don't remember, what was the scenario they thought it might need to be re-blessed? I can say about a house, but let's say the item.
Don't remember. It was one of those unusual things
yeah, I know.
Do you remember, Michael? Because I was sick.
No.
Okay. Deb, maybe not?
Yeah, she wasn't here either.
Okay, I think the only thing, we'll just say what makes it to where it needs to be
Go
re-blessed.
ahead, wait a second. Does Michael remember?
No, I don't. I can't remember what the question was. One needs to be re-blessed? An item?
Yeah, when an item might need to be re-blessed, and I think I listened to the show, but I don't remember it.
I mean,
don't
there's
recall
some
either,
extreme cases. I mean, like if you sell it as blessed, definitely not. It's not blessed anymore because it's an assignment attached to the sale of the item. If the item is used for something evil or sinful, it doesn't matter what it is, then it's been blessed before. Even a house, if you think about it, that yes, you're going to need to be re-blessed. In other words, if you offset it with negativity, the negative being evil, sin, even in the slightest, doesn't necessarily have to be a cult practice. It's just a mortal sin. That's when you would need to get it re-blessed. I think the place or the item itself. Any other scenarios anybody come up with?
Item causes any action. Can get it blessed.
Right.
Were they wondering if it needed to be instead of an action, like if it wore off, like the way batteries have a shelf life? I mean, seriously. Do you think that's what the person...
Maybe, probably, because it's not encased.
Yeah, so it's like I was wondering what
so many hands have touched it. It's like,
Yeah.
Oh, let me see this. Let me see that. And everybody wants to see it. Well, I would have it blessed.
Yeah.
And then maybe if you were going to sell it, have it encased.
Yeah. I'm not sure where they were coming from. It's like, what was the example?
Through hands and hands, it's like, no.
Yeah, I don't know if they would have to be blessed unless it was desecrated. Well, not necessarily a relic, but...
Well, Athena brought up the fact that if something was resold, like if you had medals from a rosary that were taken off and it was resold, it might be a good idea to get them re-blessed. It can't hurt anything.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's not a sin to have it re-blessed, but sometimes it's good to play it safe.
Yeah.
When you
I would.
That's a good point, because here in San Francisco, there's an occult store I step into every now and then, see what they're selling. They were actually selling old Roman Catholic exorcist kits in boxes or something.
No way.
And they were selling the occult store and stuff like that. Somebody buys it. There's no telling, like you said, it went through the occult store, right? They're selling it, no telling what they did to it, or the owner that had it before.
Oh boy. Yeah, see, it works on the dark side and the anytime they encounter the opposite, evil encounters good, it offsets it or whatever. So
just clean it off, get junk off.
Or black magic want it to desecrate it.
Yeah, if they purposely desecrated or curse an item, the curse would have to be removed, and then you would have to re-bless it, just like you do anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Yes.
The other question is, do priests get attacked more than laity in the work that we do? Because priests, being, with a higher authority, I want to say no. If you watch, Zach Bagan's show, every time there's a fake priest that goes on there, he gets scratched, he gets shoved, and I've never seen that.
Poor Zach.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, poor guy.
And if you ever see a priest get that attacked, you'll have to ask, is he a real priest? And you'll read out and you'll find out it's, he's in scandal or he's a phony priest. It'll be something like that. And I think priests are more protected than laity, so if laity start getting attacked, which you're not supposed to, it means you need to step up your prayers or you're not...
You're not called. You have stepped over. You have exited your pay grade, and you are chomping on somebody else's watermelon. You better back off.
Yeah, all priests are supposed to be able to be appointed, but they do look for those special attributes that are actually outlined in the Exorcist handbook that they get assigned. What they're looking for, the piety, and it's sort of like a profile.
You can't ride on shirt tails when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
So that should dispel that. And by the way, when you get attacked, that's not a sign that you're a threat and that they know that you're a threat, and they're just no.
It's not a badge of honor.
It means you're
kids.
vulnerable, and that you probably shouldn't be doing the work, or you need to talk to somebody about what you can to test it. Most people don't know. It's like we understand that, if you don't do the prayers every day, as we just found Father Chad had to find out on his own, that we found through the School of Hard Knocks back in we even say as recent as 10 years ago. If I didn't say the prayers every day, you leave a hole in your garden fence, and the rabbits get in and eat the carrots. And of course, in that case, it could be appliances and stuff that go out, not just carrots getting pulled out of the ground and eaten.
Right, and nickel and dime you to death. Yep.
Literally.
Yeah, and that can add up. And even the priests have that, that they'll get, or a deacon, anybody who enters into this. We're talking about specifically about priest, because that final ordination, giving them the attributes to perform all the 7 sacraments. And but I think that's an adequate one on that one. So the what was the other? Was there another question from the chat room?
No, I don't know. Deb, Mike, do you guys have any other questions that you guys noticed?
Someone posted. Anybody patrolling in there?
I haven't seen it.
Don't see anything.
I haven't seen anything.
Nothing at all?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything.
No.
Well, someone asked something about the Ouija board.
We have a few more minutes.
And the Ouija board about, if it doesn't matter if you put your hands on it or not, and it doesn't, because you don't have to touch the Frank's box, what they used to call, which is called the shack hack. Remember, it doesn't matter what out there you use. If you're doing necromancy with a Charlie game, and in Pendulum, they used to call it Kreskin's ESP game.
Yeah, remember that?
And it was like they gave you a board that you fold open, just like a Parker Brother, or like a Milton Bradley game, but you got a pendulum with a big thing on there on a chain, and then you put it in the center, and then it swung to the letters of the alphabet, and you asked the questions like a Ouija board. So it didn't matter how it came; it's the matter how you use it. It's like
okay. Can we have a question from the chat room?
Okay.
I know the answer, but I'm going to let Ken answer it.
Good.
Wait. Where'd she go? Hold on. I'll get her.
Okay. Thank you, Deb.
How can a soul choose to stay?
As in human soul, ghost, Ken.
Sometimes they're attached to worldly goods. Like, what if I make a promise to my daughter when I'm on my deathbed? I'll never leave you. I'll see you through the rest of your life. Well, unfortunately, for some, you're probably going to be held to those vows that you made a vow, before God. You don't have to say in Jesus' name, I swear this, or anything like that. But sometimes you're held to that, and you're going to bind yourself here. I mean, it's a kind of a penance that you put yourself into. And you might be monitoring that situation like an angel on a cloud, but more so up close and personal. Or you might you're worried about your family, and you're going to need to pray for that person so that their angel will come and say, it's time for you to let your family go. They're going to be okay without you. And sometimes you got to pray to get that pushed, because the person chooses to stay and linger. And this is from case study and all that stuff. And you're going to say, where did Aquinas say that? So we can pull Jordan Almond's book, which is the interpretation of Aquinas. And
also, Ken, if it was a tragedy like a car accident, and they didn't know they died, and they still had unfinished business.
Yeah, I think it's the unfinished business.
They refuse to acknowledge their death, and they refuse to go in to meet the light with everybody waiting for them, including Christ. They refuse. See, this is what people don't understand. God gave our souls a choice. He will not take our free will in this life or the next. He will not. So there is a price to pay for these souls that choose to stay here, folks. Do not think for 1 minute that they're going to instantly get to go hang out with Jesus because they choose to stay here due to their attachments.
Yeah, there's so many ways you can be here, and a variety of ways. That one priest said one time something, and you meant it. that when you actually go to hell, you've actually walked in there. And I kind of wondered if you ever get to that state where you're like in a back alley and you decide that instead of going to the mission on the right, you go to hang out. Yeah. It's like, hey, porn, booze, free drugs, and you go walk in there because that's the lifestyle you choose because you didn't know anything else. It can be something simple as that in a visual. Well, I don't know because we don't.
I know, right?
That's the part we don't know. Well, we know about the purgatory scenarios.
Eternity, Ken.
What?
Who wants to suffer eternity? Have that
right. They walk right in and don't know. They say, I want to go hang out with the Satanists, the people who love life too much and not God.
Yes.
You know? And so, the scenarios vary so much to why a person could be here. Like the Padre Pio's ghost in the chapel, the castle maid who was seen in one of the England castles, and the castle was damaged in a war, like 200 years prior, and people can still see her ascend the stairs that no longer exist there. She doesn't acknowledge anybody's presence. She still goes along the place and cleans it. According to some reports, there's a lingering spirit. But there's also a legend that she stole from the family. And then when she got found out, she ran and she fell off and died. I think that's what it was. And so now she's like, like doing some community service, still cleaning the place, because she died, suddenly means you died without repentance. And you might have to do a community service that's not pleasant, or it could be very long, but it's better than hell,
Yes,
so
it is.
I guess that kind of summarizes it then to people,
We have somebody, Valerie, from the chat room. She says they need to let go before they can move on. Yeah. We need to practice detachment now. And that's true.
That's true.
Totally.
Because
wow, that's good.
I actually held my mother in my arms, and she didn't want to go. She told me, she goes, I don't want to go. I don't want to die. And when the priest came and everything, and we were all surrounding her, the whole family, I said, it's okay, Mom, to let go. I said, go with my son. I said, Jason is waiting for you. And she did.
Yeah, you're honoring your mother in a big way.
Right?
Yeah, it was a good thing. Because she was suffering. So it was a good thing.
Oh, gosh, honey, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my dad wouldn't let go either, and my mom talked him through it. And she could tell when he started drifting away, I'll be okay. And she's basically telling him, you can know they can
left,
see.
She was on the phone. Please, Kenny, you need to come help me. Your mom was
already
so
dead.
Scared. I know. But she held his hand, and then she called for you.
I had to drive 3.5 hours to get there. That's a bad thing. Being far
but you
away
raced
from
to your
everybody.
mom's side. She was scared
Let
to death.
go. They don't want to let go.
No.
We have to talk them into it.
Literally.
Because we know what's best for them. We know that they need to go to the light. And I've always told my children, here that are here with me, and my husband, when it's time to go, if you see the light, go to the light. And, that's what I've instilled in them, and I hope they take that with them.
Yeah, they
Just go to the light.
They kind of, I don't know what you call it, distorted that with the poltergeist, and you got that midget in there, a self-proclaimed second medium, and she's like saying, and they made fun of that for years in all these comedies, like, Rover, go to the light. There's peace and serenity in the light. No, don't go there. In Poltergeist anyway. But it's like because if they make the choice there, it doesn't matter if you go there or not. God's going to say, hey, it's not your time, or your angel, whoever.
Exactly, Ken. You are exactly right.
Yeah.
Because when I had a miscarriage and my other son was 2 years old, I lost a baby, and I saw the light, and I wanted to go to the light, and a voice kept saying, not now, not now. And I wanted to go. It was the best feeling I ever felt in my life.
Yeah.
The best. And you were going to want to go. But then on the other end, I felt my husband slapping my face and bringing me back and saying, no, don't leave me, don't leave me. We have a son here we have to raise. I was 2 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, he needed you. And you need each other. And it's like don't go
I
by that
want
second
that light.
thing.
Believe me, you can't imagine in this world what that light feels like.
I never had that kind of experience that Farah did.
Beautiful.
A couple near deaths and drowning that Farah had. So she has an idea of that. You remember that guy that we had on one time? It was I forgot his name. He was a suicide person who wanted to send himself to that experience again because he actually drowned and got pulled out of the water and had that peaceful serenity. So when life got really bad, he decided, I'm going to go send myself there, but he experienced hell. And he was on our show, and I can't remember. Was that show or the other? I was on another show before me and you and your brother started Demonology Today. But I think that it is time for the show to wind itself up.
Say good night, sweetheart. Good night.
Yeah. God bless.
Enjoy your cereal, Mikey.
Will do.
I'm so glad you got okay and you're like kicking and screaming again.
Oh, yeah.
Kicking and screaming one way or another.
All right, Deb, we love you. Hey, everybody in the chat room, thank you for joining us. Steve, Ann, Zulma, and everybody else. Jennifer, Elizabeth. Oh, my gosh, I can't even name everybody. Valerie. My gosh, you guys, thank you so much for everybody showing up tonight and hanging out with us and bearing with us. And I guarantee you we're going to have 2 super swag bags for you guys next week. We'll try and post something. And guess what? Don't forget, battle's already been won. We're here to help you fight the fight and win it right. So hang tight, do your prayers, rabbits, and we'll see you next week.
God bless everybody. Next week, same time, same
night,
channel.
Mikey.
John
Night, Deb.
We'll be on.
Night, John boy.
Night, Marilyn.
Yeah, be safe
Night,
out
guys.
there.
Love you.
Oh, my gosh. Buenos nachos.
Bones and ashes. God bless everybody.